Right, good morning. Let's continue with our wander through whether or not we should use groups or one-to-one tuition in our teaching and learning. I am a fan of groups. There, I've said it. But I am only a fan of groups if the group is constructed correctly. Now, in a modern day classroom, it's sometimes necessary to think of groups in different ways. It really depends on how you look at your class structure. There are some students come in low prior attainers, middle prior attainers, high prior attainers. Sometimes you will find that high prior attainers would benefit from having mid prior attainers in their group. That way they can help them whilst helping themselves, pulling their peers up to the level that they are by maybe using a different perspective on the teaching than you as a teacher. This is quite normal and there's nothing wrong with that, because we have to remember that at all times, learners do not all learn correctly, and sometimes it's useful for a learner to have one of their peers explain it, and then if there are any more questions, to come back to the teacher. It's not always as simple as following the teacher's instructions. We go back to our points in sessions 1, 2, and 3 this week, in which we clarified that all learners are not equal in the way that they do things. They're not robots, they are individual people. So, from that point of view, group learning can be a gift, because it can provide for students the benefit of learning from other students, which takes away the temptation, to procrastinate. Because what group learning does is it then gives an element of competition. So you often find in year groups, which is quite fun really, is that there develops a level of competition in which everybody wants to be the best. So learning in groups helps them test that a little bit, and test what they know from what they don't know, which is a gift, because it makes them want to know more. So procrastination is reduced or eliminated, competition is increased, which is brilliant, because let's face it, they're going out into a world full of competition. And on top of that, we also have the benefit of it fills gaps in learning, because what you'll see in a group of students is that very few know everything. I mean, who in the world knows everything? Not many. Very few know everything, but it fills those gaps in learning when they each have something to contribute to the group. And that's another benefit. There's the sharing of ideas. So now you can see why I am such a fan of group learning. It's fabulous. The disadvantage, though, is quite huge as well. There's the potential for distraction, because students tend to find it easy to be distracted by each other, even when they're the best student in the world. It only takes a word or a touch or a look. So when you work in groups, there is that potential there. But we have to consider it's a balancing act. Not every student is suitable for groups, even after successfully hitting the one-to-one targets. What we have to do is assess and look at whether or not there's anything else that needs to be achieved before that. A masterclass, I call it, where I create groups. I'm looking at prior attainment, current attainment, understanding how they work well and their personality, and whether or not they want to be part of the competition. There's a lot of elements to consider. But what's vital is that when we put them in groups, even though we know progress is being made, we don't take our eye off the ball, because the group has to work, and groups can break down. So now you have an idea about how I think about things. Yes, I support one-to-one sessions because many students need it, and many students have things that are happening in their lives which put challenges in their way, and so they have to start somewhere. And if that means a one-to-one group, then that is what it should be. But we should always try and help them progress at all times and build those skills in, that they're able to move into larger groups. And my largest that I would ever really support is 3, 3 in a large group, because it's not necessary to really stretch it any further. And even a group of 3 provides some seriously good life skills that could help them when they finish their exams and move on into the greater world. Always considering the student, always considering what the end result should be. This isn't only about passing exams. This is also about building a life. So I'm going to give a call to action today. And I'm going to ask you to think about this, the students, the children in your care. How would they like to prepare for their upcoming summer assessments? Given the choice, what would they choose? And is there any way that you could provide it for them if the school that you're at doesn't? Because it's a real possibility. We always have to take this back to resourcing, and not every school has the resources available through no fault of their own. But what can we do to make this better? Let's have a little think about that. Let's enter the discussion. I'm going to put a link below for a free gift to you. And that free gift is one which talks about 5 ways of solving the problems that exist within the classroom. And that is where I think a good starting point would be when considering whether a group would be better for your child or whether one-to-one would be better. It's worth a little think. It's not always as easy as it seems. But in the meantime, I would like you to have a great day, and we'll talk again tomorrow.